start recording in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome, faithful listeners, to the Media Files podcast. I am going, solo just for today. It has come to my attention that consistency is very hard when it comes to recording episodes, uploading them. Consistency is what you expect. I mean, anyone expects out of a TV show, series, musical artists. Just recently they had where fighters, the Dragon Ball Z fighting game, they just released this huge patch. And a lot of people that I follow on YouTube are like, yeah, it's back. But I'm also in the camp of, I forgot about the game. I'm going to be honest. I think it is a very bad business move to have a very popular game release no content for a year, well over a year, and then out of the woodwork say, hey, we're coming back and we're reworking things. And I think it is also it is noteworthy to state that, in a month, like literally in just a few weeks, we're going to have Sparkling Zero, a Dragon Ball Z game everybody is looking forward to, including myself. So you do have to forgive us. It is hard getting everyone together to do a podcast, but I do think it would be a good idea to also include just some individual takes as well. We got school, we got work, everybody's busy, and we just kind of offer our own takes on things, hoping to relate to our audience members in some way, shape, or form. So again, Sergeant Survival, I will be just talking about something. I looked up a few topics, just something to kind of discuss with you guys, and maybe something that's been kind of weighing on me a little bit. So the topic for today is going to be longevity. And when I say that, I mean more so in manga, anime. And I think this topic kind of comes up for me as I was reading Shonen Jump. So Shonen Jump is very popular. It houses a lot of very popular series that we've come to know and love, including Dragon Ball, all the iterations, if I'm not mistaken, except for a few off ones. Naruto Shippuden, Boruto, which we don't talk about on this channel. None of us have respect for that show. I literally watched short from some fight that was in the show, and they literally had a character just sliding from one side of a field to the other, and it was the same frame. Like, you would have to be absolutely crazy to be like, oh yeah, Boruto is one of the greatest shows when they take shortcuts like that. But I digress. Long story short, there are a lot of series that are on the platform that are well known, that are well loved. One Piece, JJK, Attack on Titan, all of these series have been shown and consumed through the Shonen Jump app, through the magazine, a lot of different things. And one thing that's coming to the forefront of my mind is consistency and longevity. Now, for those who are very familiar with Shonen Jump, you are aware that being a mangaka is very difficult. It is very tiring. It does a lot to yourself, both mentally and physically, to where some people need breaks every now and then. And breaks are okay. I do believe that there has to be some sort of standard when it comes to when breaks are very, very long. And I only say that, I'm not saying that to say, oh, someone takes a couple of months off, their manga should be ripped off of the app. What I mean is, say for example, there was one called Soul Reaper Girl. I remember reading this a couple of years ago, and the manga just randomly stopped. And I remember I didn't really look into it. I did like reading it, week to week. But I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, I'm on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. I'm on social media, knowing every little thing that's going on with artists and mangakas and everything they're doing and saying. I like to keep to myself because their business is their business, and whatever they got going on has nothing to do with me. But that's just my philosophy with it. You guys may have a different opinion. But the manga just stopped. And it was a couple of months ago when it just randomly appeared in Shonen Jump that a new chapter had dropped. And I clicked on it more so maybe to get an explanation of what happened. And I feel like in the last chapter I read, there was a notice of like health issues, which again is not a bad thing. And I think the same thing happened with the manga Ruri Dragon or whatever, where it's like the girl is like human, but like she's like part human, part dragon, and she's like trying to navigate what that means for her. So I guess slice of life, coming of age, whatever you want to call it. And Ghost Reaper Girl is more of an action type of supernatural form of manga. And I want to say, again, I definitely liked reading it back then, but it's so much time has passed that I've even thought like, I forgot. I genuinely forgot that it was a thing because there was nothing new coming out. And as I stated with Fighters, and here was my idea that I presented to the other podcast hosts. What Fighters should have done was, even though they have all these patches and everything, what they should have done was slowly release them instead of just making this massive drop out of nowhere. Because if you slowly release updates and patches, it shows that you're still invested in the product and in the game and in the community. Because the last thing they dropped, if I'm not mistaken, was, well, they were talking about netcode fixing and all the other stuff. They dropped Android 21 or lab coat, the lab coat version. And that was pretty much it. And nothing. Literally nothing. And then for whatever weird reason, now that we have Sparkling Zero literally dropping here in a couple of weeks, now they show up out of the woodwork saying, hey, we're still here, guys. Like, Xenoverse is still doing its thing. I don't think Dragon Ball Z Kakarot has done anything new. But long story short, longevity and consistency is what makes people stick with a series such as JJK, One Piece, Dragon Ball. There's this consistency that comes. If there are breaks, there are breaks. Even TV shows do that, where they're like, okay, this is end of season 1. We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back later on this year. Because they're filming new episodes, doing whatever they got to do, taking breaks, whatever. And that's how it works. There's a break in between those seasons. However, I think it is also noteworthy, and I think this is where I have an issue. So one thing I've been kind of talking about with the other hosts are the implications of series that are being cut on Shonen Jump. And you guys may not know what I'm talking about or have an inkling of what it is that I mean. So I'll just kind of paint the picture here. A couple of years ago, there was a manga on Shonen Jump. It was, I don't remember the exact name. It was like Dora or something. Manga names are so weird sometimes. I'm like, huh? But anywho, basically it was kind of like this kid is like, there are these like spiritual monsters. It reminded me of Bleach a little bit. No, yeah, it definitely reminded me of Bleach. But long story short, there are these creatures. They love to eat humans. And there are people who are able to use, the energy to like manifest swords and weapons and, use to fight them. And there's this one kid who doesn't have a spiritual pressure or whatever, spiritual aptitude, but he's really tough and strong. So he meets this white creature who doesn't want to eat people. So they team up, and it's like, okay, these guys are able to change the world and everything. And I genuinely like that manga. I genuinely was like, okay, I'm excited to see where this goes. It was consistent. It was engaging. It kind of felt like and I love Bleach, albeit all its issues and the many ways of monetization. Viewers, another issue that I have is like how monetized some series are. Like how many Naruto games have come out and the drop in quality of them, like they all tell. Here's my problem with anime games. My biggest problem with anime games is that it's the same story being retold over and over and over. And I told the other guys, I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to Sparkling Zero, but I do not look forward to replaying the story. Like that is the staple in every single game. And it's like it will only get to the point of where you're like, okay, I've seen this, I played this, and I don't understand how people are just like anything Dragon Ball creates, we're just like, oh, we're gonna love it and consume it. And don't get me wrong, I love Dragon Ball Z. I love the Dragon Ball series. It has such an impact on my life as a kid and growing up with it. I love Dragon Ball. But that's the reason why I critique it so much is because I do love it. People who just blindly like love something and buy it, you just enjoy it. You're not really looking to, ruffle anyone's feathers or like ruin something. Because I've always voiced my opinion on like Super, a lot of the issues it has. And don't get me wrong, when the Tournament of Power was like coming out, I was in the military and it was hype. Like, don't get me wrong. But after watching it and kind of thinking to myself, and I'm like, there's no power scaling anymore. Like, the reason why we like felt so strongly about Dragon Ball Z, and this is me, was that power levels was a way to signify that a character was stronger, i.e., that guy has a power level over 10,000 and my power level is 8,000. So they have an edge over me. So I have to figure out some way in order to, even out the odds. Like either there's something they can do that I can't do or something that I can do that I can use against them. It felt more like a strategy or a long drawn out battle, especially when it came to like early Goku versus Vegeta. So power levels was a way of indicating that, okay, this is an uneven fight. And that continued throughout the series. And again, power levels became less of a number and more of a feeling, especially as they went into the Cell arc and then into the Majin Buu saga. The idea was to signify that this person is stronger than the main characters. And therefore, they are in for a hard time. And with a lot of other, series, they have some indicator. Excuse me. So like Bleach, spiritual pressure. They're like, okay, this guy has a lot of spiritual pressure. And they did try to like vary it up. Like, okay, depending on how big your Zanpakuto is can be indicator of how much spiritual pressure you have. I mean, I guess is literally just like, okay, how big is your penis type? Like, do you have a big dick or no? Is a weird way to put it. But that was, I mean, it made sense for the universe. But again, it's kind of this arbitrary measurement system. And the way Dragon Ball kind of phased out the numerical power levels was genius, saying that the power levels were getting above where the scouters could read them. But power levels still had a mainstay in the series. Now, as we go into as we go into Super, power levels became less important and more so of like, okay, this guy is just stronger than you. There's really no indication of how strong. He's just stronger than you. And I think that became even more apparent with the Future Saga. Like, you're literally fighting a guy because they never really beat Zamasu. Like, they had to use literal God to defeat him. And again, that makes no sense to me. Like, you have this guy who's like this powerful and I just felt like it was such a waste of time. This whole arc. And again, that was my whole thing with like, okay, you're using very like specific devices to like, I don't know. It was just weird. Like, especially with like the resurrection of F when we like rewound the earth after it got destroyed. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this doesn't bode well for longevity. because there's always this thing with me where Goku is able to form relationships with others because of his pure spirit. And a lot of times I feel like they kind of destroy that with Super, because they kind of like, and everyone's going to have their own opinion, but here's my opinion. So you can believe it or not. But there is this loss of that, to where, especially when they're like the Battle of Gods movie, where it's like, okay, or this, it was the anime or whatever. But he's like, okay, I can't beat you with my own power. So that makes me feel some type of way. And then I'm thinking to myself, but Goku has done that I don't know how many times. I literally was rewatching the legendary Super Saiyan Broly movie, the old one, my favorite movie of all time. And he got power from everyone else in order to beat Broly. And the same thing happens every time he uses the spirit bomb. Like, that makes no sense to me. You're like, okay, I can't use my own power, so I feel some type of way. But Goku, you've been doing that ever since you have been a character. You have not been able to do everything on your own. Like, who beat Grade A Vegeta? It was Yajirobe, the most random person you got help from. Like, that whole thing got on my nerves, because I'm like, that makes no sense. That does not align with his character. What aligns with Goku's character is he relies on his friends a lot. He is okay with getting help because he realizes that there's a limit to what even he can do. Like, that's the Goku that we are aware of, not a pretentious, like, prick who's like, okay, I don't need anybody's help anymore because I've reached the pinnacle of what is a Saiyan. Like, that makes no sense. And that does not align with the character of Goku. So maybe that was one of the things that really got on my nerves, because it doesn't make sense. And then the whole like Super Saiyan God thing, and like that just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, okay, the realms of the gods has definitely been like started with the Supreme Kais. But again, if you do not elaborate on something, you just like introduce it, it's kind of weird, because it's like, okay, where's this been? Foreshadowing, my dear viewers, is the best way to link and create new stories. It's almost like, like how they've been doing recently. A movie is tied off all nice with a bow, and then like 10, 20 years later, they're like, you know what? We're not finished with this property. We're going to make a sequel. And you're like, but everything was solved. There's no issues. Like, there's no more. But it's almost like, okay, here's a good example. Dead Space is a good example of where the story could have been, continued, because it is something of a phenomenon that's like too big to contain and finish. As in, Dead Space 1 ended, but there could be more. That type of deal. Predator movies. There are multiple predators. There's no way to be sure that you've killed them all. Just like with aliens, there are a plethora of ways to kind of put it. But if you do it and you want to bring the same characters back, and let's say the character died in the previous movie, why are you bringing them back? Like, there is a significant reason for endings. And I guess all of that rant to just say, or to kind of segue into what I was talking about with consistency and longevity, it's frustrating, But again, everyone has their own opinion. You can agree with me or disagree. That's just my take on that part. But I forgot what I was even. Oh, so longevity, consistency. So that manga, the one with the swordsman and spiritual creatures or whatever, just, Bleach, but I guess more modern or whatever. So basically team up, and, they're going to be the ones to save the world. Now, the manga was rushed to end. And I noticed that trend with a lot of series back then, and especially now. Now, again, I'm not saying that every series is going to end like that or be that, but I feel as if a lot of series are not given that time to mature or actually like gather an audience. Like it's almost like with Stranger Things for me. Stranger Things had an audience, and that audience brought more people into that fandom. Because for me, I didn't know what Stranger Things was. I barely watched Netflix until I was on duty one night, and my friend, he was like, "Yo, have you watched Stranger Things?" I was like, "No, I've never heard of it." He's like, "You need to give it a watch." I watched it and I loved it. And then I told other people, and that continues to build the fandom. That's how series work. That's how communities are built. A group of people watch it and then they bring other people in. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to love it or anything like that, but you are giving them the opportunity to experience something that you genuinely like and you enjoy. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, I believe that there is this bad emphasis on series and shows that are popular and not letting them in. For example, we have Jujutsu Kaisen that is ending. I think either the last chapter has been written or was it last week? I just know it's coming to an end, as in everything is being wrapped up. Like Sukuna has been defeated and the main characters are back together. So I think there's like maybe one or two more chapters left based on like what everything that's going on. Could they extend JJK? Maybe. Or would that be a betrayal to everything that we've seen? Because it feels like a lot of stuff has happened to the point of where it's like the end of humanity. So it kind of would be we got Kaiju number 8 that's ending. Let's see. I feel like there was like, well, One Piece. I feel like One Piece is in this weird place of where a lot of questions have been answered, and we're definitely heading into the end game. So sooner or later, that's going to end. I don't care about Boruto. What else we got? Mission Yazakuro Family. They got an anime adaptation, which is a Hulu exclusive for whatever dumb reason, and it looks so stiff and lifeless. Ugh. But that should be ending as well. That is coming to a close. What else? Hold on, I gotta check my app. Because I know for sure there are quite a few that are wrapping up. Let's see what we got. But that is the point that I have. Chosen X, I have not read in a long time, so I don't know. Twin Star Exorcist is actually ending very soon. Like, they're in the end game with that one. Yeah, Mission Yazakuro Family. I know that one's definitely coming to an end very soon. And I think that is about it. So a lot of major series are like in their end game or coming to a very quick ending. Now, again, the whole idea is whether series are given time to mature and have that audience built up. And another part that I really want to like be very careful with saying is like, okay, I want to be careful with saying that more like certain series deserve to be extended versus others. What I do believe, however, is that some series are cut prematurely. And you guys know which ones I'm talking about, like where it's like, okay, the story's going along, and then out of nowhere, the main villain shows up, and it's like we hadn't even like done much training, but guess what? The main villain is here. The protagonist has enough power out of nowhere to defeat them, and then they're like looking towards the sunset outside of a hospital room, saying, "Yeah, we did it." And it's like, what? The story didn't mature. Most of the characters didn't change. And it's like, and the dang, what it was like Dorara or something. Okay, mangaka, please make the name of your manga, your series easy to say. Like, I'm sitting here racking my brain. I know what it is, but if I can't recommend it to anyone, if I can't even say the darn thing. But I'll probably put a picture for those who are on YouTube watching this. Thank you again for your time and patience and love. But I really dug the art style. I really liked the direction. I really liked what they were doing, but it ended suddenly. There was another one called, I think it was like Candy Rush or something. Long story short, it was these kids or people who got powers related to candy, which I thought was pretty interesting. It could have been taken a long way. It kind of reminded me of like stands from JoJo, like where it's like each person's power is unique to who they are, and they have to figure out ways in order to fight with that. Um, so another reason why this has really been on my mind is because of the One Piece remake. Now, I love One Piece. I've been with One Piece since it started. My issue with this and everything else, I mean, it has a live TV show. They just got a second season. They are remaking it. It has over 1,000 episodes. Huh? Why? I've always been of the opinion that if you didn't start One Piece at its inception, you're too late. Like, it's too late for you. Don't start it. I don't see the need of reworking One Piece all the way from the beginning. And the other hosts, not everyone, but other people will say, oh, it's to give new fans a chance, or it's to do this or do that. And I'm like, but you could spend these resources and know-how on new series that have not been animated yet. Maybe like, okay, this is a big one for me. Zatch Bell. I loved watching Zatch Bell on Cartoon Network back in the day. Zatch Bell was like one of my favorite series and one of my favorite mangas to this day. Because it is unique, it is very engaging, and the art is sick. But we only got, I think... Oh, that was weird. Oh, just killed a spider that was on my screen. I don't like that. You guys just like... It's not that I hate spiders, but I hate it when spiders just randomly appear out of nowhere, or bugs in that in that same thought process. Where was I? Yeah, but I don't understand this whole like we need to remake it for new people. No, you don't. Spend it on spend those resources on new series, because everybody doesn't have a problem with making 50 million isekai animes. No one has problems with making a whole bunch of like lolicon animes, which I think is the dumbest concept ever. Like, oh yeah, they're 1,000 years old, but they look like a little girl. Really? Anywho. Long story short, I do not understand, and I get it. I know why. It is to create longevity for a product so you can remarket it to your fans. Don't do that. That's the problem with Dragon Ball. The problem with Dragon Ball is it is very popular and they can make a lot of products from it and people will purchase it and get into it. Even though it's really just telling the same story over and over and over and over and over again. And people are just going to keep eating it up. Like the Dragon Ball Daima or whatever is coming out. I have mixed feelings about that. Well, one, because the creator has, unfortunately passed away. And I feel that, I don't want to say it feels like disrespectful. It's almost like if I have a popular series and I, unfortunately pass, I would want it to stop with me, because I put my heart and soul into creating this thing and keeping it going. And then when I'm gone, I don't want to trust anyone else with it. Now, again, that's just my thoughts. Everyone else has their own thoughts. I really felt like it just felt so bad that day when it happened. But again, it's just, I don't know, it's just weird. Like, again, Everyone has their own thoughts on it. I just feel like it would have been a better way to just let it just kind of end as it is. Like, because what that says is that the show can continue as long as someone has the rights to it. I don't think that's fair or right because not everyone's going to treat it with care. Not everyone is going to treat it with the same level of love, care, and attention as the creator. But I feel like Dragon Ball is not going anywhere anytime soon. One Piece does not deserve this. One Piece does not deserve to be remade. It's already got a live action show that a lot of people love and adore. And spend that power and resources on something more meaningful. Like, okay, if people are like, okay, we want to introduce One Piece to new people, they can start at episode 1 on Crunchyroll like everyone else does. Here's another thing. Why not remake another show? Maybe a show that ended unceremoniously, like Zatch Bell. Introduce that to new people. The same argument could be made for a lot of series where, oh, we want people to know about how good Big O was. Okay, remake Big O. We want people to know how good, like, I don't know what other series Inuyasha was. Like, give it that treatment. Like, my whole thing is, if you can make that argument with One Piece, you can make that argument with anything. Anything could get the remake or whatever. So my point is, stop prolonging and putting all this time and resource in the series that have already built up the audience and give other series a chance. Because the problem that we're going to run into is that it's just Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, and Naruto. I don't like that future. I don't like a future where my only options are those three. Because sooner or later, you're going to get tired of Dragon Ball Z. Eventually, you're going to get tired of Naruto, and I've already reached that point. I've reached that point with Dragon Ball 2. I still love it, don't get me wrong, but I burnt out from it. And One Piece, I'm sticking with One Piece until it ends, but once it ends, I'm done. There's no, oh, I want a spin-off or a sequel. My Hero just ended. That was the other one I was thinking of. My Hero Academia just ended. Literally just ended not too long ago. Let these series end properly and allow someone else to come in and take their place. Because here's another key fact. A lot of people became mangas because they saw something, a manga that was so popular, they wanted to be like that person, like a hero. Like a lot of people became, a lot of the series we know and love are because of Dragon Ball, Oda, like, One Piece. Like, there are all these like series that have been made, and a lot of people have been inspired by Akira Toriyama, Oda. Like, there's this long list of people. But if you don't give new people a chance in order to branch out and try new things and experience new series, eventually those series are gonna end. Like, I think is made even more painfully clear after Akira, unfortunately passed away. Like, to me, that was like the end of Dragon Ball for me. Because I'm like, Akira is and always will be Dragon Ball Z to me. There is no replacing him. There is none. I don't care if it's another family member or anybody like that. No one can replace the creator. No one. And I'm tired of people acting like you can easily just replace someone. You cannot do that. He made a name for himself because of his hard work, his dedication, creativity, and all of that. He got to this point because of his hard work. Not because of us. I mean, because we love Dragon Ball and everything, but not just because, just some random person who's now in the driver's seat. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful or anything to whomever has it now. But what I mean is, there is no replacing the originator of the idea. So I feel like Shonen Jump, manga in general, especially when it comes with AI and all this, it's easier now more than ever to just make manga. But it's like, but all the images are going to look the same. They're going to have, like, I saw one on this app that I read, and I avoided it because I was like, this looks AI generated. Like, it looks like you didn't put any work or effort into it. I would rather read a manga that is badly drawn than one that is AI generated. I'm just going to be honest with you. So, again, these series need time to grow, mature, and actually become something, instead of relying again and again on the tried and true series. Because that's the problem with gaming companies now. They are afraid to branch out. They are staying safe and doing what's making money versus just trying new things. Like, people will say, like, oh, back in the day, they had so many good games and such a variety. And I believe that. I grew up in that generation. Like, one of my favorite games for back in the day was a Sims game. It was called Herbs, Sims in the City for Game Boy Advance. I love that game. I'm not the kind of person who likes those kind of games, but I love that game. It was fun for me. Another game was a Tom and Jerry game I played back in the day. It was on Game Boy Color. There was a Digimon game, Pokemon back in the day. Like, there's so much wrong with holding so tightly to an IP, a character, a series, without allowing yourself room to be creative. Because, okay, we got Mario Kart's from back in the day. You just made it more modern. Cool. Great idea. What else? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have a Nintendo Switch, right? And I know there's the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out, whatever. I actually do not have any. I don't have any like Nintendo games on there other than Super Mario Maker 2. That's it. And a lot of the reason why is because, one, their games are expensive. They never go on sale. That's number two. They never go on sale. And if they go on sale, it's like a 5% discount. Like, what? You're charging me almost $70 for a game and you never go down on your price. Even if the game is like 15 years old. What? And then they want to charge people for an emulator. Like, huh? Anywho, I have not touched my Switch in over a couple of months, and I'm still paying that stupid whatever Switch Online for me to be able to play with people online, but I don't even play my Switch. So I'm literally thinking about like disconnecting it. But the problem is you have to have that in order to play anything. And PlayStation's no better. Like, I have, like, on my PlayStation, I only have like Spider-Man games. I have a One Piece game. And then, you know, the PlayStation Plus games that come out every month. And, you know, those games aren't worth a darn thing because, I mean, any game worth its salt is not going to be free on the PlayStation Plus. Excuse me. I'm just being honest. Like, you are never going to see Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 2 on PlayStation Plus for free. You are not going to see it. You are never going to see Spider-Man. Either or. You're not going to find any of them on there. You're not going to find The Last of Us. You're not finding any of those properties on there. And if it does happen, you know, you can prove me wrong. But the whole time I've had it, I've gotten games that have either been like indie titles that have like kind of come and gone. Like, I think the past few months there was the Biomutant one. I played that one for like a few minutes, but I got kind of bored of it very quickly. It's a very interesting mechanic, but I feel like the I guess the direction and kind of the fluidity of the game and the gameplay just kind of clunky to me. But not something I'm willing to pay for, so I don't feel as bad. But another thing that I really didn't like was like when they took the Silent Hill collection off and you can't buy it anymore. Long story short, there are a lot of companies that hold true and tight to like these specific IPs to where they are not willing to try anything new or return to something old. For example, Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper is one of my favorite series from back in the day. I played all of them, including the last entry. It technically wasn't supposed to be the last entry. They left it off with a cliffhanger because the last one was Thieves in Time. And the ending was like Sly Cooper actually like gets lost in the timeline. So it's kind of hinted that you would go through the timeline to look for him. So where it at? Where is it? But you'll produce like the 50th Ratchet and Clank. I don't know why Ratchet and Clank got the reboot instead of Jack and Daxter. Like I don't understand that decision. At least do both of them. Like Ratchet and Clank has gotten so many games. I don't understand why. And I gave the Ratchet and Clank game, the one that was the remake. Basically, it was based off the movie that came out, but it's the remake of the original one. And I told the other guys, I was like, this seems so lifeless and soulless. Like, I compared the animations between the two, and I'm like, there was so much more expressive and, energetic in the original game. And this one just feels like they just put the character model there and they move their mouths every now and then just to speak. So that's kind of my whole idea with, the whole manga anime just in general. They need to allow series to grow. They need new fan bases to actually foster up, because there is going to come a point where people are going to be tired of excuse me. They're going to get tired of the big three or big four or whatever you want to call it. There's going to come a point. Like people who just say, oh, Boruto's the greatest, manga or anime ever. Sure. You can say that, you were born yesterday. Sure. But there was Naruto, and then Naruto Shippuden, and then Boruto. There was an escalation to this point. And me and the other hosts have stated like Naruto would have been better if they had just ended it then and there. Like, and Mammoth literally stated Boruto would make more sense if it was like Naruto's grandson versus his son. Because there are too many people trying to draw a comparison between him and Naruto. And I'm like, but Naruto's already had his time. He's worked hard for where he is. And all these threats that keep coming out of nowhere, I'm like, where are these people coming from? Outer space? Yeah, they are. But it's like, I thought this was a ninja world. How are aliens involved in this? Anywho, long story short, manga needs to get its act together. Shonen Jump needs to get its act together. Because if series cannot, and I think this is also kind of what we're experiencing now. A lot of the series I am following very like weekly, and I am excited when a new chapter drops, are from artists that are not featured in main magazines. That's just it. And the same thing with video games. A lot of the games a lot of people are talking about and playing are indie titles. Lethal Company, Power World, I thought I heard something. Helldivers 2. Like, there are all these indie titles that are coming out that people are excited for, having fun playing, and are not breaking their wallets or their banks just to play them. Like, for me, I play Phasmophobia, and I love that game. It was innovative, it was great, and, but the game is still being updated. They're doing it for free. If you let Sony do the same thing, they will charge you for every single update. Power World. I love playing that game. I just started playing and I'm having so much fun because I love survival type games. Hence, Sergeant Survival. But I love playing that game. And a lot of that comes from the idea that I only have to pay once. The game is being updated frequently. Now, again, there are some sketchy things with the game. Sure, whatever. But I mean, we can't sit here and act like other gaming companies don't do scummy crap. like charging for skins. When was that ever a thing, and why did that become a thing? Charging you to literally pay money to get in-game currency that has no value to you outside of that game. Because guess what? If you spend that money, buy that cash, and you get to the top of the leaderboard, but then, we got to shut down the servers, so that game doesn't exist anymore, that $500 you sunk into the game was literally just wasted. But I don't have to do that with Power World. I don't have to do that with Lethal Company. I don't have to do that with Minecraft. I don't have to do that with so many indie titles. We need to get out of our head that what was always true is not true forever. Shonen Jump is not the one-all be-all, or whatever other major magazine that houses manga series is that. A lot of series I follow are just regular artists, just people being people. And a lot of them are manhwas. Like Solo Leveling, everybody knew about that before it became an anime. Like, we were excited when it actually got that treatment, but at the same time, people don't know that, hey, we've been following this since it started. Like, we've been fans from day one. So, yeah. We need to get out of our heads that they are right. And it is the best decision to continue to lengthen and keep these series literally alive like Frankenstein in order to continue to monetize them and make them money, because we're stupid and we'll buy anything that you slap Dragon Ball Z on. And I'm being honest. How many Dragon Ball Z like collaborations have there been in the last couple of years? There was even the one on Fortnite, and I was like, Fortnite? Huh? What? And then we're being stupid and we're just like, you know what? We're gonna buy this. But Fortnite isn't Dragon Ball Z. I would rather spend that money on a Dragon Ball Z game versus just some skin. And I know you could do the Kamehameha or Spirit Bomb and all that stuff, but I'm like, you can do a lot more in a regular Dragon Ball Z game. Like, you can play other characters. Like, you don't have to pay for them unless it's Xenoverse. But Xenoverse does have just regular character rosters. Like, you only pay for like the characters who are introduced afterwards. And Xenoverse actually goes on sale quite a lot, to be honest. Like, I will admit that a lot with and even with Naruto games, like, once you buy it, you pretty much have it, except for the Naruto Strikers. The Naruto Strikers game, they're still coming out with characters. We have to pay for those. Which I guess is fine, but I'm like, if I buy the game, then I shouldn't have to keep doing that. Like, I bought I have a VR and I've always wanted one. And I am playing Beat Saber. And, Beat Saber, I think, is like $30. But each song is like $1. But then you have to pay taxes. Well, it's like $1.99. You pay taxes, so it's like $2.14 or whatever. And long story short, it's like the game was $30, but technically at this point it's $50 or $60 because I have to buy each game or each song that I want to listen to. Nothing against the original tracks, but I want to play the songs that I love versus just songs that you have preloaded in there. And I think anyone and everyone can agree with that. Like, I would rather spend my money on songs that I know and recognize and that I like versus just these random tracks that, nothing against them, they're good. But I think familiarity is, a lot easier for some people. And again, that is the problem. The same problem I'm talking about is the same thing that I'm doing. Where it's like, instead of enjoying something new that they actually created, and I do enjoy it, I could have gone the longest time without buying any music. But again, I'm not buying them like, the fifth or seventh time. How many Naruto games have you purchased? How many Dragon Ball Z games have you ever played? They will well outnumber the number of times you've bought a song. I'm going to be honest. Like, I have Amazon Music and I pay every month for that. I don't have to pay for my songs. Beat Saber, I just have to pay once. But if they came out with a Dragon Ball Z game, so they came out with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, they had DLC you had to pay for. There was Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 2, and you had to pay for every single expansion pack they came out with. You have Fighters, where you had to pay for every new character that they introduced into the game. And now you got Sparkling Zero. Now, I don't know of any monetization with that, but I am going to almost guarantee that it will be. There's Dragon Ball Z Dokkan. There's Legends. There's all these iterations of Dragon Ball games where you have to spend money in order to further your enjoyment, quote unquote. And it's kind of like you have to. Because, okay, Xenoverse, for example. Xenoverse introduces new forms and stuff either free or you have to pay for it. And I think most of the forms are pretty like free, but I think like Super Saiyan God Blue or whatever, I think you have to pay for it. So long story short, if you're fighting someone who has that form and you don't, then you're at a disadvantage. Just going to be honest. And then they come out with specific moves in that pack. So if you don't have that move, you're basically screwed. But yeah, so long story short, again, we need to stop thinking that the series continuing to live is a good thing. Because I don't think that's true. Let other series get the limelight. Like, how many Hunter x Hunter games are there versus Dragon Ball Z versus Bleach? Like, Bleach has a lot of games. A lot of them are like played and forgotten. I'm going to be honest. How many games does One Piece have? Like, how many games does Naruto have? A lot. In comparison to Zatch Bell. In comparison to Hunter x Hunter. Like, Hunter x Hunter just came out with, or that Hunter x Hunter fighting game. Demon Slayer. Like, Demon Slayer is really popular. I don't know why why is it that all anime games have to be arena fighters? Why? I know they fight in the game, but they also kind of live their lives, explore the land, like actually do the thing that they're doing. Like, he's a demon slayer. He goes from one place to another doing his job. Maybe that would be cool. And I've told the boys this. I don't like it when I have to go to Minecraft to get what I want. If I go into Minecraft and I'm able to load up a Demon Slayer mod to where I'm able to get my own sword, use my own breathing style, and just go around slaying demons, why do I need to go to Minecraft to do that? Why can't a serious game company do that for me? Another example, there is a superhero mod that has Marvel and DC characters. Why am I able to get a Doc Ock costume where the tentacles work? They climb stuff, they pull you up, they do everything that you expect them to do. Why can I get that in Minecraft, but I can't get a good game with that? Because there is a Spider-Man costume that actually has Doc Ock's arms. And even in the Spider-Man games, there is that costume with the Doc Ock like arms on them. They don't act like them. They should. So again, everybody is relying on what is easy, what is shown to be true and work, versus allowing new series to foster in, grow, and actually be good. Now, there are new series on the Shonen Jump app. I am not denying that. But what I'm saying is there have been way too many series that have been cut, rushed, and thrown to the wayside. But yet we got Witch Watch that's still on there. Undead Unluck. I started reading that a long time ago because I was confused about what the heck was going on. And I don't really see too many people talking about them either. So yeah, I think that's long enough. I have definitely ranted. It's been almost an hour of recording. But I do feel like we do have a few other episodes coming up. There'll probably be more to YouTube because they will involve some visual support, as in we'll be, just get excited. We have I have something very special planned for the boys for the next few episodes. Um, so I will also encourage them to, if they have the equipment and the time, to kind of record their own sessions, and then we'll upload those to kind of, keep that consistency. Because again, we're all busy. It's hard to like get together on the same day and same afternoon to record. But again, thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on the podcast, please make sure to follow, like it, tell your friends about it, the good stuff. And if you're on YouTube, please make sure to like, subscribe. You can also listen to other, I'm pretty sure we have this all in a playlist. Everything's in a playlist nowadays. So have a listen to those things as well. And again, listeners, peace out.